I'll be real with you. I talk a good game when it comes to mindset and health and, making the right choices. But in reality, it's not always like that for me. It's not like that for anyone. Any of these people, any of these creators out there you see talking about all these things, just know that they're not perfect either. Nobody is. We're all going to make mistakes. We're all going to slip into an old habit every once in a while, one that's not serving us, not exactly helping us. But what really separates people is those who slip back and stay back, and those who persist and try again and learn from their mistakes, learn from their past habits. Because that's the thing. The way we used to be has a lot to teach us. All of our habits, good and bad, have served us at one point in time for a reason. We may have a pattern that doesn't exactly help us right now, but that pattern formed for some reason. And I like to do this exercise where when I have something in my life that I'd like to change or replace, I first start by acknowledging that at one point in time, it helped me. I like to acknowledge that it used to be there to support me, to help me grow. But the person I was back then is not the person I am now. And the person I am now is not the person that I plan to be in the future. Because the person I plan to be, the one I want to become, has learned from my current mistakes and the mistakes that I'm about to make and maybe have just made. That version has changed a bunch of patterns, changed a bunch of habits, met new people, tried new things, to the point that we're not the same. And I get excited to meet that version in the same way that I get excited looking back at who I was and what I used to be like, and knowing that I really have changed, I really have grown. These thoughts come to mind because I've been dealing with my own old patterns recently. I started to touch on it a little bit yesterday, but I really came to this conclusion, or it really got brought to my attention, that truly I haven't had the best relationship with food in the past. Quite simply, it started when I was very young, and I never really thought too much of it until certain periods of my life caused bigger changes, and I would say, okay, I want to change this about me. I want to change that about me. I want to eat healthier, or I want to eat these meals and do these things, whatever the idea was at the time. And what I see now was I was just putting a Band-Aid on a much deeper, much wider wound. And I'm starting to explore that wound now and repair it bit by bit, piece by piece, little by little. Most recently, I was in this cycle of overeating a bunch, say at night, and the following day, I really wouldn't eat breakfast or even lunch really, not even snacks, maybe something small, something little to give me energy for a workout in the day. And then I would carry on until it becomes late evening, and I would choose to really go heavy with a meal. Whatever it was, I was definitely eating, maybe even like twice as much as I really needed to be. And then I would eat that one big meal. Maybe I would wait a little bit, eat a little bit more, like an hour or two before bed. And I would go to bed and repeat this cycle. And I was doing it again and again, thinking that was pretty standard. That was normal. Because it's something that I've done for so many years to varying degrees. Yeah, I had periods of my life where I would eat breakfast more often, or I was meal prepping a bit more, so I would eat lunches more often. But it was never really targeting the pattern that was underneath all of it. And it came to my attention recently that this pattern is not serving me anymore. It was once long ago when I was really seeking control, really seeking a way to feel a certain way at a time when I didn't know how to change the way I felt. And even as I'm saying it out loud now, it's making more and more sense to me why I was doing this, why I was in this cycle. Because as I say, it's a very old pattern. I could remember a time when it was like starting to develop, and it was like all the way in the 3rd grade or something. Just about at that point, I stopped eating breakfasts. And there really wasn't someone around to point that out and say, hey, that's not right. Let's get you some breakfast. Because I also never really talked about it. It was something that, when I was that age, I was already starting to get myself up for school and getting myself ready. And I remember, just however many minutes before needing to go to school, waking up my mom and having her drive me to school. It was at that age where I was, aware enough to get up, get ready, while also seeing that my mom worked nights and I wanted her to get a little bit extra sleep. So because of that, at first she would ask questions, but it became normal. And slowly, at that point, I was still eating lunches at school, but after a few years of this, I want to say just around 7th, 8th, no, maybe like 8th, 9th grade, I stopped eating lunches too. So my first meal of the day started coming around like 3 p.m. I was waking up at 7, but I was starting to eat at 3 p.m. right when I would get home. And then there'd be times where I may eat a little snack at school, or maybe I would get bagels before school. This is like later in high school, so I'm talking like years of this. And sometimes I would eat even later, maybe 4 or 5 p.m. But basically, this became normal for me. My hunger cues were completely off, and honestly, to this day, still kind of are. They kind of are because it was an old pattern that I never quite worked on. I pretty much allowed it to be a part of who I was. And I'm not shaming myself. I'm not going to guilt myself for the things that I did in the past. Not for those things. Because like I was saying before, it served a purpose for me. It served a reason. It was helping me. And now I've decided that it's no longer serving that same purpose. I'm learning I don't need that control. I don't need to overeat. I don't need to live in that scarcity mindset that this food's gonna go away or the comfort's gonna go away and I'm going to feel worse because of it, because I know that's not true. I know what I'm capable of. I know the power I have with my emotions. There's so much more to this that I haven't shared, so much deeper. But I'm just giving you this bit of an insight, this story about how, you know what? We all make our own mistakes. I may talk about all these things, but I mainly talk about them because I'm reminding myself to do them myself. It's quite simply just that. So I want you to know that when you make your mistakes, know that everybody out there is also making them. And you don't have to beat yourself up for it. The only thing you have to do, in my opinion, is learn from it, grow from it, expand yourself from it. Ask yourself, what am I going to do differently next time? And resolve to do just that. So I thank you for being here. I thank you for listening. I'm sure I'm going to share more as I go along this journey. And until we meet again, just remember to always fill up with the love. And I look forward to seeing you in the next one. I love you.